Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. Or just an honest girl. It might be that too. Please be seated. Whew. Goodness. So when I was pregnant with Caroline, it was common knowledge that the piece would go extra long. We had and this church always has a long piece anyway, but it was just known to be an intermission because Caroline Elsa Rhodes sat really, really low and would stomp on my bladder. And so it was common knowledge. It is now common knowledge that when Meg is on chemo, I will fall on you. So be prepared. If you're standing anywhere in my vicinity, I will likely land on you. It's fine. My neurologist says that after April, I should start to feel better. Who knows? We'll see. Fun story about my neurologist. He says, Meg, how are the migraines going? And I said, they're pretty bad. And he said, well, are you taking anything for them? And I said, well, back in college, I took this pill and it was really expensive and it just made me feel hungover. And he said, Meg, we've come a long way since you were in college. Love that guy. Anyway, let's talk about the gospel, shall we? We've got a baptism today, and I'm super, super excited. These babies were long awaited for and very, very much prayed for. So we are very, very excited to be officially welcoming them into the St. Anne's family, though they've been there since I think their parents were like, oh, wait, what? What's in there? So let's talk about the fig tree because I think it's a very, very powerful story. And I think baptism is something that we always need to talk about because there's the secular view of baptism, and there are two primarily strong views when it comes to baptism. One is as soon as that baby escapes the uterus, you get it baptized because if it dies, it's going to hell. Not accurate. Even the Roman Catholics don't believe that. So if you were trained that, it is not actually accurate. There is nobody who has that theology. Even the Roman Catholics don't have that. But we think that we do. No, we don't. Okay, so there's the extreme version. And I worked in a women's hospital emergency room when I was in seminary as a chaplain, so I understand that panic. That okay, we got to get the kid fixed, right? And if you're a parent, you probably had that grandparent conversation of getting the kid fixed. Like, do you have a date set yet? Because you got to get that kid baptized, right? Okay. Maybe you've been that grandparent, and that's okay too. Okay, so that's one extreme. The other far extreme, and you'll hear this one a lot here in Missouri because we love a good evangelical theology here. That one is, well, I'm going to let my child decide, like it's choosing a car or something. And I only believe in believers' baptism, or I'm going to wait until they've decided as an adult what they choose to do. Now, I as a parent, I hated math. So I'm going to let my children decide when they're adults if they choose to learn math or not. Would you believe the education system does not support that view? And they have not allowed me to unenroll my children in math because apparently it's important. Okay, so I want to talk about both of these things because one, and I realize I'm kind of jokey about both because I think the reality is somewhere down the middle. And I think the fig tree is a story that can really speak because we want immediate, right? One of our views is that, I don't really have to go to church. I don't really need to pray because when I die, as long as I say I'm a Christian, it's all good. That is true. And you're like, well, why am I here? Well, I could be doing something else. It's a beautiful day. Okay, that is true because salvation has nothing to do with us. Salvation has nothing to do with you or me because God's love has nothing to do with you or me or what we do or what we decide or what we think or what we believe, because just like we very, very broken people usually love our children, God, who is perfect, really, truly does love us all the time. And there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God, okay? So you aren't here because you're buying in salvation. Sorry if that is a surprise to anybody. Okay, y'all heal because you want to be good Christians, right? Not because you're like, well, maybe if I buy this insurance policy called going to church, I'll be saved. No, this is not fire insurance. This is how we learn to be good Christians in a hard, hard world. That's what church is really about. And that is what baptism is about. It is not about getting the kid fixed. It is not about becoming Christian or becoming God's child. You are God's child from the very, very beginning, whether or not you ever choose to accept that. That has nothing to do with it. God loves and creates all of us. God loves every single person as much as God loves anyone in this room. Okay, so it has nothing to do with that. The reason we baptize is because you and I recognize that being a Christian is super, super hard. And the reason that we do infant baptisms all the way through to whenever you choose to be baptized, and that is the Episcopal tradition. I've done as many adult baptisms as I've done itty bitty babies. And the reason that we do that is because we understand that this is a commitment that takes time. This is a commitment that we do as a community, because being a Christian is something that is super, super hard to do, and it's virtually impossible to do it alone. And I get that there are people in hermitages. Okay, I get the hermit thing. We'll talk about hermits I have a degree in medieval studies, okay? If you want to talk about hermits, come and talk to me. They're not that fascinating, but if you want to talk about them and like the process they had to go to be approved to be a hermit, it's extensive. Because the reality is you have to be a Christian in community. We live in community because it is super, super hard. And we raise our children up in this community because we know that the world out there is going to try and convince them that God doesn't love them. The world out there is going to tell them all sorts of things that you and I know in our hearts of hearts aren't true. And so we do this as a community because it is so important. Like the fig tree, you can't just show up one day and be a Christian. You just can't show up one day and be like, oh, I'm on with this God thing. I'm down with it. You can't just show up one day. God's not a vending machine and be like, I haven't prayed or had a relationship with God my entire life, but oh crap, I found out I have cancer. Better start praying now. God is not a vending machine, okay? I know. If you have really good teeth and a floppy Bible, sometimes you think that God is a vending machine, but inaccurate. You should read that floppy Bible. It will tell you something different. But we baptize as a community because this is how we mark an entrance into this and how we raise our children, how we raise ourselves as a community. We are committed to this life, and we're going to take vows that you and I know are impossible to keep. We are going to take vows that are impossible to keep. I want you to listen very, very carefully to the vows that we are all going to take on behalf of these children, because they are important, and we have to be reminded again and again and again, because we know that the things that we commit to are hard, indeed even impossible. But we also know that when we commit to doing it as a community, it's possible. Because when I'm feeling low, I fall on you. Literally and figuratively. And when you're feeling low, you fall on us, literally and figuratively. And when these children struggle, and they will, because it's a mean world out there, that will tell them that they're not worth anything, or that will tell them to be worth something, they have to do these things. You and I will be there when they fall, literally and figuratively. So listen to these vows. It's important. The fig tree doesn't produce just because it's there. The fig tree produces because it is cared for, it is loved, it is nurtured. And that is what we do as Christians. We care for, we love, and we nurture. And sometimes when we need that, It is offered to us in our community. We care, we love, and we nurture. It is not a magic thing that's going to get this child into heaven, because frankly, God already created this child, and God has loved this child much longer than there's what in there? And will love these children much, much longer than you and I are capable of. We'll love these children through much, much more than you and I are capable of loving them through. And it's not about fixing the kid. It's not about saying, oh, well, someday you can just decide. That's not how it works. You and I just can't decide one day to be perfect Christians. It doesn't work that way. It is something that we build over time in a community. And so with that, are we ready for baptism? I could do twice. So Karen Wesley asked me, she's like, have you ever baptized twins before? No. I have baptized multiples, though. I know, but it's okay. We'll get them both done. So if I stop halfway through,
that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on
just
Sundays.
tell me,
Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
All right, I'll masky up so I don't breathe on these little babies.